This is the Forensics Git 1 challenge walkthrough for picoCTF 2026. And in this challenge, we're giving a raw disk image and need to recover the flag that was deleted from the Git repository. So let's get straight into it. I already downloaded this disk and unzipped it so that we are ready to go. So the first step is figuring out what is actually on the disk. And the best way to do this is viewing the partition table. So we would run mmls and the disk image name to view the partition table. And we can see that there are 4 different partitions, and the one we want to look at is the one that contains the Linux file system. And this is typically the one that has the biggest length or size. In this case, it would be sector 4. And just as a sanity check, we can run fls and then the start size, start number, and then the disk image. And this basically just lists the files in the top directory of that sector. And we can see that this is a typical Linux file system where we have a home directory, we have a root directory, and all the other jazz. So now that we confirm that this is the Linux file system, we can carve it out using the dd command. And this basically is taking the in file, which is the disk image, out file, which is the anything you want to name it. I just named it Linux Partition.img. And you have to enter the byte sectors, which is 512. You can see it up here. Skip is basically the start number, and then count is the length of the partition. So we can run that, and then we can see that we have successfully carved out the Linux file partition. So next step is we need to mount it. So I like making a directory first before mounting it so that it keeps everything organized. So I'm going to do sudo make directory, and then I'll call it Linux partition, and we're going to be mounting it inside of the /mount directory. And finally, to mount it, we can do sudo mount -o loop, and then you select the Linux partition and then the location. So now when we check the folder cd /mount/Linux partition, we can see that we have access to the entire Linux file system that was on the disk image. First place we want to check is the home directory. So /home, we can see that there's one user called CTF player, and then there is a folder called code and secrets. And we can see that there is nothing inside of secrets. So if we do ls-al, we can see that there is a .git folder. That means that secrets is a Git repository. First thing I like to do in Git Forensics is run git log, and this basically shows the commit history of the repository. So we can see that the first thing that happened was the user added a flag, and then the second thing that happened was that the user removed a flag, and these are just the messages that the user wrote. And we are currently inside of this state. In this challenge, we want to view the contents of the flag that we don't have access to right now. So in order to view it, we can actually time travel back to this state and view the folder as if the flag was still there and added. To do that, we can do Git Checkout and then the hash. So this basically brings the folder's state back in time from here to here. So now when we do ls, we can see that there's a flag.txt file inside of our directory. So if we cat the flag.txt file, we can get the flag and go submit the flag. So the key takeaway here is that deleting a file inside of a Git repository doesn't permanently delete it if the commit history exists. And one last thing we want to do before we end the video is we want to unmount the disk image. So we can just navigate to anywhere else we want out of the folder, and then we can do sudo umount and then the disk image location. And this basically unmounts the disk so that it saves some memory. Thank you for watching, and if this video helped you learn something new or helped you out in any way, shape, or form, please like and subscribe and share it with anyone that you think would benefit from here. Thank you, and see ya.